Breakups often feel like a rejection or a loss, but each breakup is an opportunity for you to realign with your authentic truth. My name is Megan. I am the conscious breakup coach, and I help you turn your heartbreak into your best glow up. And as a person who was chronically the dumper, no, chronically the dumpy, I know breakups intimately. When people talk about being serial relationshipist or serial monogamist, I am a serial heartbreakingist, if that's even a thing. But anyway, I know what it feels like to go through a breakup and want someone or want something to work out so bad. And I used to look at each breakup as long as I cried my tears and allowed whatever time to pass, then it was okay for me to move on to the next. But healing is so much more, is about so much more than just allowing time to pass. Healing is about exploring the parts of you that this relationship brought up so that you're able to then let those emotions go. Every time we get into a relationship, we want to feel like this relationship is going to last forever. But just like every experience we encounter, our relationships are a part of our soul's contracts. So before we even incarnate into this earth, we decide on the course of our life that we believe is going to be for us to have the most amount of growth. Everything about what we do is about evolving. We have our physical growth, of which we see, and then there is a certain amount of emotional growth and psychological growth and just overall evolving as a person that happens through these different interactions that we have with people. The only issue is that when you are insecurely attached, you start to look at these relationships as a means of survival and not a means of growth. So when the relationship has run its course, you are falling apart and you feel like life can't go on because you're not able to see the growth in it. The only thing that you are present with is the pain from it. But the moment you decide to not only become present with the pain from that relationship, but become present with everything that that relationship brought up, become present with your thought processes, become present with your feelings, become present with what might have happened in the past that you can connect it to. That is when the real healing happens, and that is when that is when you are finally able to graduate out of this cycle of emotionally unavailable partners. Some people do not come into your life to be your forever love. They come into your life to wake you up. And that brings me to my next point, the difference between karmic cycles and soul contracts. So when we think about karmic cycles, we think about overall an emotional loop that we are stuck in, that we've kind of agreed to be stuck in before we got here, because through each encounter into that loop, we were meant to learn something from it. So if you were stuck in the anxious, avoidant, emotional loop, then through each partner, you're meant to learn something. That dynamic is supposed to bring up something within you. Now, if you are avoidant, then once that dynamic brings up what you're supposed to look at, then you may be running from the connection, running from the person, running from the trauma, but most importantly, running from yourself, right? However, on the opposite end, if you are anxious, then you're in the middle of the breakup. You're not really looking at all of the pain and the trauma that these breakups bring up. You're too fixated on the pain of losing your partner. So I like to look at these karmic patterns as it's a different heartbreak, but at the same time, it also feels very familiar. Like you are not with the same person. However, there's something in you that makes you feel like maybe love isn't for you. And that's based upon the past of having partners that break your heart in different ways. but the heartbreak still feels familiar. So that is a karmic pattern. Now, on the other end, we have soul contracts. And soul contracts with these partners that we encounter is when we actively or when we can physically see a difference after encountering them. So when you think about a soul contract, you think about someone who has come into your life and for whatever reason, they shook it up. And it now feels as if there is a life before them, and there was a life before them and a life after them. So, soul contracts could very much look like a twin flame. It could look like a soulmate. It could look like a karmic partner. I have a video on the difference between karmic avoidance and twin flame avoidance. So if you're not familiar with what kind of avoidant you're dealing with, then you might want to check out that video. But it is important to know that a soul contract can be karmic, twin flame, soulmate. It can be any of that. A contract is just something that both of your souls agree to do in this lifetime. Whatever it is that you all agreed to do was going to be for the evolution of one, if not both of you. So when we look at an avoidant that is, for instance, a soul contract, twin flame avoidant, we know that a twin flame, someone, at least one party, normally the anxiously attached, is going to undergo this deep transformative journey into shadow work. They are going to truly evolve. Well, the soul contract prior could have looked something like agreeing to enter into each other's life at a certain time and mirroring each other so much that you were forced to heal from these wounds. And then a soul contract could also look like the karmic partner that comes into your life that is meant to come in and break you down until you are absolutely nothing, till you feel like you have hit rock bottom, because that is when you're going to be able to make the necessary drastic changes in your life. Breakups ultimately happen because while there is so much growth that can happen within a relationship, because relationships are expansive, there also is a lot of growth that can happen when you are alone. And a lot of the growth probably that you need to do happens when you are alone. Now, I want to make this clear. You do not have to be 100% healed to be in a relationship. People like to think, oh, you must love yourself before you can love others and blah, blah, blah. That is all complete bullshit. Okay, there are a lot of people out there that are still struggling with self-love that are in healthy and committed partnerships. It's not about you loving yourself the absolute most you can. It's more so about you having the awareness and knowing how to show up for a relationship and also being in touch with yourself. There are people who are anxiously attached who are in healthy relationships, but you know what? They're aware of their anxiety. They're not coming in trying to play it cool when they really want to go crazy. They're like, you know what? I got to know what you're doing 24/7. I got to know where you're at when you leave me. And they find a partner that's like, okay, I'll give it to you. Listen, what you feel is a requirement for you that you think is so outlandish or so unrealistic, there is someone who's willing to show up for you. I have worked with people who have some very tight requirements, and it still worked out. And I also want to mention, just like the dreams that you have, and we say that you were given those dreams because they are possible, like you weren't given them because they're not possible. It's the same when you think about your romantic partners and the things that you need in a relationship. Now, this isn't to take away the importance of knowing how to compromise, but when you are given things that are necessary in a relationship, you aren't given these idealizations because they're not possible. You're given them to let you know that it is possible. Because if it wasn't possible, how could you even have the thought of it? So, your assignment with this breakup is to take a look at what this breakup is mirroring for you. I always will say, feel the pain, feel the grief. We want to so quickly get to the feeling good that we forget that the feeling bad is the reason why we know what feeling good feels like, right? So I want you to truly take a moment and feel the pain that comes from, losing connection with someone that you had a lot of hope for. But once you do that, I want you to start taking a look at the pain of which you are feeling. We go through all of this shadow work and these meditations and all these different modalities because we are trying to become present with the pain from our childhood. We're trying to become present with the pain that we have suppressed. If you are going through a breakup, you are already present with that pain. So instead of allowing it to consume you and fawn over your ex-lover, use that pain and be like, okay, I am really wanting to talk to this person right now. What is it that I'm really feeling? And then you're looking at it and it's like, I feel alone, or I feel like a failure. I feel like I'm going to be alone forever. Or I feel like they are as good as it gets. For every action that we have, there is a thought process that is playing out. There is a story that we are telling ourselves. And until you start looking into the story that you are telling yourself, you're going to continue to act upon these emotions that you aren't even privy to. Today is the day that we turn our pain into power and that power into purpose. If you are ready to finally start your healing journey and allow space for love, then please use the link in the description box. Book a one-on-one discovery call with me. I would love to hear from you. My name is Megan. I am the Conscious Breakup Coach. And until next time, I will see you later.